Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is part one of this entire look. In this video, I'm going to show you how to do the foundation, highlight, and contour. And then in part two, which you can watch clicking that card, I'll show you how to do the eyes and the lips. So if you want to see how I got my skin looking this flawless, then keep on watching. To begin my full coverage makeup routine, I always make sure I moisturize and prime. So for moisturizer today, I use my Lancome Visionaire Skin Perfecting Moisturizer. And basically, this is really not used for everyday moisturizing, at least that's what I've noticed. I only use this when I'm gonna sit down and do my makeup because it helps smooth the skin out rather than actually hydrate it, if that makes sense. So this is really good as a primer, but not really good as a moisturizer. So on top of this one, I use my Makeup Forever Step 1 Hydrating Primer, and this adds a lot of moisture to my skin and primes at the same time. So since this doesn't really add a lot of moisture, I put the Makeup Forever on top to give my skin some of that extra moisture so it doesn't get flaky and nasty underneath my makeup. To fill in my pores, I used my Benefit Porefessional. This is an awesome product. A dupe for this is the NYX Pore Filler, which I use. I just don't have it around me. It's not on my desk right now, so I just picked this up and I applied it in all the places that I have extremely large pores. So that would be my nose area, around here. And then I added a little right here to my blemish because it is very 3D, so I use some of that to try to smooth it out. And then for my lips, I just put on some of my Carmex. You can use any lip balm you want. I just like putting it on at the beginning of my makeup, so when I'm ready to put my lipstick on, it's already absorbed and my lips are really moisturized. Of course, you don't have to use any of the products I'm using. I'm just telling you what I like to use when I sit down to do my full coverage routine. Okay, now it's time to apply your foundation. So the foundation I'm using today is the Too Faced Born This Way foundation, and this is my favorite full coverage foundation ever. It's lightweight, but it still provides all the coverage I need. Plus it has really great skin benefits to it. Another good foundation I like to use is the Kat Von D Lock-It foundation, but that one is a little bit heavier than this one, so that's why I'm choosing to use this today, because I still want my skin to be able to breathe. So for full coverage, you can either do matte full coverage or you can do dewy. I like to go on the dewy side just because I like how it looks. In order to get that, I just take my foundation and mix it with an oil. Today I'm going to be using my Tarte Maracuja oil with my foundation, and I'm just gonna add a few drops to give my skin that dewy finish. Of course, you don't have to use this oil. You can use vitamin E, which I have that too. There's a lot of good skin oils out there that you can use to infuse your foundation, so it's giving you skin benefits as well as being used as makeup. Just to put that out there. I'm also going to be using my Becca Backlight Primer in with my foundation just to give it a little bit more radiance. If you were going to color correct, you would have already done that. I'm not color correcting today, but know that you're supposed to color correct before you put your foundation on. And to apply this, I'm using a damp Real Technique sponge. So this is just one layer. As you can see, you can still see some of my blemishes, so I'm just going to put a dab of the concealer or of the foundation on there. And use my finger to blend it out. I probably should have color corrected those spots because they are so dark, but And I'm just bringing my foundation down my neck because this shade is one shade darker than the shade I am right now. So I just want to blend it down my neck so the difference between my neck and my face is not too crazy. So now I'm going to do my concealer. For concealer today, I'm going to use my trusty Maybelline Master Conceal in the color Fair. And I always use this when I want full coverage concealment. And this is about maybe 1 shade to 2 shades lighter than I am. And then I'm going to use a different Real Technique sponge that I have dampened and blend that in. I like to start from the bottom and move up toward my eye because I do not want a lot of product right under my eye. If you do that, that's what causes that cakey look. So I want the coverage, but I want it to be thin instead of like thick as it is right here. So I just blend it out and then blend it up. And then I go on top of my eye because I'm going to use my concealer as an eye primer. And it also neutralizes any colors or discoloration that you might have on your eyelid. So I'm bringing my concealer over toward my nose because that's going to act as a guideline when I draw my nose lines for my nose contour. You'll see what I mean when I get there because I didn't really explain that well, but you'll see what I mean. Now to set my concealer, you can do one of two things. You can just put powder on it, or you can bake. I personally don't like baking. I find that it makes me look a lot older than I am, so I'm just gonna set mine with powder lightly. And the powder I'm going to be using today is this RCMA No Color Powder. I was using the Laura Mercier Translucent Powder, Secret Brightening Powder, but I don't really like that anymore now that I use this. Now that I use this, this doesn't make your under eyes look crepey. You can add as much as you need to and you don't have to worry about it drying out your under eye. So that's what we're using today. And I just have some on my little lid here, so I'm going to take my damp beauty sponge. Of course, make sure all the lines are blended out under my eyes. And then I'm just gonna take that powder and go to work. So now I'm going to bake my forehead, the bridge of my nose, my cupid's bow, and my chin. So I put excess powder in these areas because that is where I tend to get oily. So the powder is not only going to brighten my face, but it's also going to help those areas stay matte. To set the rest of my face, I'm going to use my Rimmel Stay Matte powder, and this is in translucent. I don't really want to add any more color or coverage because my foundation is doing that for me. I just want to set it. So that's what I'm going to do. So I'm going to take a flat-headed powder brush and swirl it around, tap off the excess, and push in the powder. I don't want to swirl it because then that could cause the foundation underneath to move, and I don't want it to move. So I'm just going to press. So that is my face set. And I'll zoom you in so you can see. So now we're gonna go into the contour. First I'm going to contour my nose because that usually takes me the longest. I am not an expert at contouring my nose, so take everything I do with a grain of salt. So I'm just going to use this little sample of the Star Bronzer Natural Glow from Lancome. And I'm just going to sweep my brush across it, tap off the excess, and lightly go down the sides of my nose. What I'm trying to do here is form a shadow. Usually want to do this with a cool tone brown, but the cool tone brown I have is a little too dark, so that's why I usually just use whatever bronzer I have and just lightly do it. And then to clean up the sides, if I made my lines a little too thick, I'm just going to take some of my translucent powder and bake along the sides of my nose. This is to make your nose look slimmer, so it looks like your cheek is extending in that far. So I'm just going to let this bake and dust off my other baking areas. And I'm just going to use a big old fluffy brush to do that. Next, we're gonna go into my cheekbone contour. So I like to use this brush from BH Cosmetics. It's the 114, and it's basically an angled brush. And it fits perfectly in my cheek hollow, so that's why I use this brush. So I'm just going to take that Star Bronzer again from Lancome, get my brush up in there, and contour my cheek. So you can already see, I already have defined cheekbones, so you can see that line right there. I'm just going to go over that line and above. And then I bring my bronzer up toward my hairline to make my forehead look smaller, because I do have a very big forehead. Now I'm going to bronze under my chin to get rid of that double chin. Or I should say, to camouflage my double chin. And I just bring it down my neck. And then we're gonna dust away this excess powder. Okay, now we're going to move on to blush. So the blush I'm going to be using is this NYX blush in Intuition. To apply that, I'm going to use another angled brush. This one is a little bit smaller than the one I used for my contour, so go like that, dust off the excess. You can see that pigment. Whew. And go right above where you put your bronzer. And I'm using tapping motions. I'm going to blend it a little bit with my fluffy brush. So that's our blush applied. And there's really a lot of different ways you can apply your blush. I like to put mine more toward the upper part of my face because I want my face to look really lifted. If you put your blush here on the apples, it's gonna make your face look rounder, which is not what I want. So that's why I apply my blush that way, but depending on your face shape and the face shape you're trying to achieve, you can place it anywhere you see fit. Next, we're gonna do highlighter, which is my favorite part. To apply my highlight, I use this brush from BH Cosmetics. It's a 115 brush. And I don't actually know if it's used for highlighter. I see people using like little small highlighter brushes. I use this monster and it gets the job done. And if I put too much on, I always have my fluffy brush to blend it away. So today, my favorite combination from this palette is this one right here, which is Sunburst and Dripping in Gold. This is a great bronzer topper. This is the golden bronze right here. I might actually use that after I put on my highlight, who knows? But this is a great bronzer topper if you want to have an overall radiant bronze. So for right now, I'm just going in with Sunburst and Dripping in Gold. Tap the excess off and go to town. Because there is no such thing as too much glow. Yes. And of course, on my Cupid's bow. And I just lightly do that. And I'm going to dust off this bake and apply highlighter to my nose. So I like doing the tip of my nose. And just lightly along the bridge. And that is basically my full coverage face routine. Now, of course, I could do my eyes and my eyebrows, but I'll leave that till another video. Anyway, guys, I hope to see you in my next video. I hope you enjoyed this one. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up and press the subscribe button down in the description box so you don't miss any more content from me. And I hope to see you in the next one.